Imagine a tightrope walker. Oh, very high off the ground, every slight move can lead to a fall. They have to carefully shift their weight, trying to balance it perfectly. Now imagine, this is what you have to do for your whole life. Seems very exhausting, right? Yet this is exactly what we are taught. Find the work and life balance. Balance is relaxation with productivity, ambition and well-being. But this is just not effective. The thing is, balance is not natural and is definitely not sustainable. If you really want to manage your time efficiently, you have to find flow. To acknowledge the problem of balance, we have to look at some key statistics. The Randstad Work Monitor 2025, the latest research, suggests that people actually chose the work and life balance as their priority when looking for a new job, over pay, with 83% choosing the first over 82% choosing the latter. What this tells us is that for the first time in the 22-year history of the Work Monitor, people actually value their time over their pay. And this is a new trend, and it's really important for us to acknowledge that. They want less stress, they want to feel less overwhelmed, and the answer is not balance, it's flow. The way that we taught to do this, for balance, is simply just, as I said, not working. We thought that achieving balance means carefully dividing our time between our work and rest, but this creates a very harmful, unrealistic expectation that we can always do that. The truth is, we can't. It's simply not possible. If we divide our time evenly all the time, then that means that we just run out of time. Because some weeks we need more work, some need more rest. And that's just how life works. But we need to acknowledge that if one really wants to be productive, they have to understand productivity is not about working more, it's about working smarter, in alignment with our natural energy rhythms. For example, this is why the idea of flow, the idea of balance is very wrong. It forces unrealistic expectations, and by forcing balance, we actually make it different and difficult for us to work more. Instead, we should aim for flow, a more balanced and more adaptive way of managing our time. Flow is the seamless transition between work and rest. It means understanding that productivity is not about putting in the hours, it's about working with our best and resting when we need to recharge. The world is shifting, people want better time management, less stress and more meaningful productivity. The answer is not balance, it's flow. What exactly is this flow? Flow is the seamless transition between work and rest, as we know. But to be more precise, the term flow was first introduced by psychologist Mihaly Csikszentmihalyi, and he described it as a state where a person is deeply immersed in an activity. In this state, they experience deep focus, and their actions bring them fulfillment. This takeaway tells us that flow is not only achievable for more tasks, it's also enjoyable. When people experience flow, their brain releases dopamine, a neurotransmitter associated with pleasure and motivation. A study published by McKinsey & Company shows us that executives who tend to experience the flow report 5 times more productivity than those who don't. Another study published in the journal Frontiers in Psychology tells us that employees who report working in flow state are more productive at work, less stressed, and report higher well-being. This tells us that flow is not just a tool for getting more done, it's a key for long-term success and happiness. Well, what makes flow so much better than balance? For one, it eliminates the mental barrier that comes between switching in between work and rest. As for with balance, forcing balance can leave us feeling guilty, because with balance, the barriers make it impossible for us to actually feel good in what we do. With flow, there is no barrier like that. So the next thing is about misconceptions. There is a big misconception telling us that rest is separate from work. Instead, we need to think that rest is an inseparable part of work. Without rest, deep work is simply just not possible. Research conducted by the University of Stanford tells us that taking short and active breaks can actually help us focus. For example, taking breaks such as taking a walk, listening to music, or engaging in mindfulness. This is why many of history's greatest thinkers, from Albert Einstein to Steve Jobs, often incorporate walking into their routine. And even in the business life, like Mark Zuckerberg, as he hosted meetings on foot with employees before. The next thing that we need to acknowledge is that one of the biggest barriers when it comes to entering flow is distractions. This is why we need to prepare an environment for our work. We need to turn off our notifications, get fully immersed, put on noise-cancelling headphones, everything to help us stay in the zone and achieve deep focus, because only this way it is possible. Because according to a study by the University of California, Irvine, after distractions, it takes us about 23 minutes and 15 seconds to regain full focus, and that can really make a difference on a daily basis. The next thing that we need to acknowledge is that the switch to balance for flow is not really a change in our lifestyle, it's a change in our mindset. The only thing that we need to do is acknowledge that we need to work with our own insights. One powerful approach to this is working with our ultradian rhythms, which are some cycles of high-low energy that alternate throughout the day. Research shows that humans work best in cycles of about 90 to 120 minutes of energy, with 15 to 20 minute breaks in between. What this tells us? Well, this tells us that we need to discover how our body works and plan our tasks accordingly. So, let's move on. What are some things that you could start doing right now to bring yourself closer to this state of flow? Starting off, you need to start with tracking all energy patterns. And these are the cycles of high and low energy that alternate throughout the day. You need to find your own, since if you find some on the internet, for example, they can be adapted to the person that made them, but not to you. Some people are best in the evenings, some in the mornings, some in the afternoons, and you have to discover your own. After that, you can then plan your most demanding tasks throughout the day in the cycles of high energy and rest in the cycles of low energy. The next thing that you can do is use the flow time technique. It was developed by Zoe Bivens, and it basically relies on concentrating on your work, working as long as you can stay concentrated, and then taking a rest when you feel like you can't work anymore. This way, you are not wasting time on forcing your body to work when it simply cannot. The effect? Deep focus work sessions and allowing for quick completion of tasks. Next thing you can do is prepare your environment. As I said before, your environment is one of the most crucial factors, as you really do not want to lose the 23 minutes and 15 seconds of time that you will not get back. So immerse yourself fully in the task, prepare an environment, clean your room, turn off your notifications, and alert colleagues and family that will be working so not to get interrupted. Next thing you need to do is set clear goals, as this is how your body works best. It has a clear goal to do and follow. If the state of flow occurs when a task is neither too easy nor too challenging, according to Csikszentmihalyi's research. If a task is too easy, your brain gets bored. If it's too hard, you get stressed about not being able to do it. This is why, in the sweet spot, when a task is so challenging that it stretches your brain, but not so challenging that it makes you overwhelmed. This is also why athletes, musicians, and artists often seek to experience the state of flow. They practice abilities that stretch their challenges just enough to keep them engaged, but not so much to make it unachievable. So, if a task is too hard for you, divide it into some smaller steps, so you can feel progress and achievement that way also. Next thing that you need to do is rest actively, because as I said, it's the most important part when it comes to being productive. Go on a walk instead of scrolling your phone, and that will help you very much. If you really want to help you stay in the zone, go on a walk or meditate. Meditating is also a good way since it helps you reduce the outside world distractions. Next thing that you can do is stop multitasking. Some of you may feel that it's impossible, but multitasking actually kills flow. So instead, try to master single tasking, completing one task at a time, because according to research conducted by doctors of physiology, multitasking actually kills flow by about 40%. So instead of trying to do that, you will see that mastering one task at a time gives you much more satisfaction and is much more effective. The next thing you need to do is allow for some moments of downtime. Don't force your body to work when it simply cannot. Take a moment to think, take a moment to recharge, and then go back to work when you feel like it again. After all, you may discover that managing your time is about working with it, not against it. Instead of forcing the rigid schedule, you will discover that working with your energy highs and lows of your body is more effective, and that balance and time management is not about control, it's about freedom. Thank you.